what are you up to on the 9th of November this year? Because we want you to join us and your fellow wedding industry colleagues for a fun, full day full of industry leaders, innovators, and top names in the wedding industry to bring you a day of training, motivation, and networking. We're going to be back for WedCon this year on November the 9th, and it's a day designed for you. We're really looking forward to it, aren't we, Roxy?
We are. We want you all to be there.
And you can go and grab a ticket now by heading over to our website and heading over to WedCon. And there's still plenty of time to go and grab a ticket. So if you've not got one yet, we really want to see you there. Roll credits.
Welcome back to episode 27 of the WedPro podcast. I hope you've all had an amazing week and have been smashing out your weddings in this glorious sunshine.
I know, it has been absolutely lovely. Did you get well, actually I know the answer to that. Yes, you've been in the sun.
Yes,
Roxy tans the second she goes outside, so I know. So beautifully tanned. I actually didn't spend I got about an hour the other day. Still no pasty is like, but
I feel like I'm turning into my mum a little bit. You know, it's like, oh, it's too hot, got to go and sit in the shade.
Yeah, that's age.
That's where I'm at with my life right now. Also, in other news, you may or may not have seen on our Instagram that I, Roxy Bond, have now brought a puppy.
You've joined me. We are now wedding business coaches, mums of children, away kids, and 2 puppies.
Oh.
I mean, we've got
it going on.
For punishment.
We are, and those that are listening right now, you may obviously don't know this, but we have the puppies in the house.
The puppies are in the house.
We were just recording, so if you do hear a bit of crazy going on in the background,
they're being really good.
Yeah,
they're being really good.
Fingers crossed it stays.
We did like a little meet and greet.
We did
today, didn't we?
meet and greet for the first time, and now they're both fast asleep. So let's hope it stays like that.
So today we're going to be talking all things money and profit. We really, you guys know that listen to us quite often. This year, 2022, we are wrapping our heads around money and profit and getting really intentional about actually getting to grips with our numbers, because it's something that we can be a little bit scared of. Lots of business owners just go through this, don't they? And I know for sure we've had holidays, you especially, don't you, where you just don't like to look in the bank.
No.
So we are, you can't run your business like that. If you've not got a grip on the money, honey, you haven't got a business.
That should be up there with like the most important things in your biz to do. Like you were saying, Kate, I don't know, it scares me to death. Gives me the money anxiety, trying to open the bank thinking, when actually there's no reason for that at all. But how do you know what's working and what needs improving if you've not got to grips with the money side of things?
So today we are joined by the lovely Alexis from Right Click, and she's here to talk all things improving your systems, making more profit, and just maximizing that profitability. So hey Alexis.
Hello, thanks for having me again. I'm so excited to be here.
It's really great to have you here. I mean, it's really good, and you're going to be talking all things in terms of how to maximize that profit in a term of expenses and what you can claim and can't claim for as a business. And I think, because this is kind of tax, and we're talking about kind of tax returns, what you can kind of claim, what you can't claim, I think that's what kind of goes hand in hand as soon as we kind of mention tax or taxman or filling in tax returns. It's just a bit of a scary process, isn't it? But you're here to kind of make it easier and kind of take that fear away for people. So
you make money cool. Let me just tell you guys, you've literally changed my mindset on money and what I've spoke to you twice. Had like 2 conversations.
Oh, that's so sweet. I'm really pleased. That is the thing that I love the most. So I know we're all in business and we all need to make sure that our businesses are profitable. But the one thing that really drives me, because we've all got a passion, haven't we? It's not just a business. It's because we started a business because we love something that we already do or that we want to do. And the one thing that really drives me is I'm massively passionate about business and business owners. The grit that you need to be a business owner is something that only business owners will understand. Because I used to be employed, so my background, I used to be employed in Barclays. And when I was full-time employed, I had no clue about the amount of hard work and dedication that goes into running a small business. And when I say small, it could be a minute business or a relatively large business. We're all kind of in that small business space, regardless of what you're running your business for. But the understanding of what it takes to run a business, oh my days, it absolutely opened my eyes completely doing it myself. And then when I started speaking to other business owners and networking and speaking to people that you get on with, the one thing that I used to always hear was, oh, I don't like it when I see that brown envelope land on my door from HMRC. I get full of anxiety. I never really understand what I'm doing. I'm just trying to do my best. And I've even had people say, oh, the tax man's are going to knock on my door and arrest me and all of this kind of thing. So it worries me that there's brilliant business owners out there that are losing sleep and stress because of that side of it, when really they should just concentrate on what they do best and like run with it. So that's what drives me. And when I spoke to you guys, I was like, don't stress, like everything is figure outable, like don't worry about it. If you're doing your best, you just need to plug the gaps of knowledge that you haven't got and keep doing what you're brilliant at. So when you said that I helped you out, I was like, oh, that just makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
No, and that's great, and that's what hopefully you're going to be able to kind of speak to our owners about, and this is what it is. And I think exactly what you touched on upon there, like you become this small business owner, and whether you are, like you said, relatively small, maybe you've got kind of a hobby-based business, or you're doing it part-time and you've got a full-time job, and whether you're gearing that up or whether that's your setup and you're happy with that, or whether you're more full-time and you're doing your business full-time. There are so many hats that we need to wear, and aren't we good as people at kind of prioritizing the things that we love over the things that we don't like so much. So with us, when you kind of came in and had a little look and answered our questions, you do like a little power hour, don't you? And that's what we kind of did with you. We had you for like an hour where we kind of fired loads of questions. What does this mean? What does that mean? When we look in our banking app, what does this mean? And yeah, that's why we've got you on the podcast to kind of help with the people, because you helped us so much just to be able to understand, because we knew we had money there, we knew we had profit, but we couldn't figure out actually when we're forward planning for our business. And when wedding businesses will be listening, that's what it is about, isn't it? Kind of having a handle over your money is so that you can actually plan for your business, 6 months, 3 months, 12 months from now, even, for you to be able to know, where is my business going to be at? Not just in terms of a growth thing, but in terms of every kind of area, like backup plan,
like contingency plan,
anything like that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if there's anything we've all learned from over, the last couple of years, is that we need to have a grip on every part of our business.
Oh, absolutely. And especially in the wedding industry, because you're seasonal. So rather than it just being, let's say, a clothing business where people will be buying clothing mostly all year round, especially if it's like tops and jeans, the things that people wear all year round, with wedding businesses, it can be a bit seasonal. So knowing when you're going to have the peaks, when you're going to need enough cash flow to keep you going, have like a bit of a runway through the quieter months, or if you need to, buy a load of stock, knowing that you've got enough money in the bank, or when those peaks are, it's really helpful for you to plan, rather than having that scary, oh, is there enough money in the bank for me to keep going? And can I take that new order? Or can I take on that next event? How do you know if you haven't really got a handle on what is right for your business? So another thing, all businesses are completely different, and the way that they run are different. So you have to think about the finances for your business really in isolation. You can compare yourself slightly to other businesses and what other businesses are doing, especially if it's a friend that you've got in business and they kind of understand they're in the same industry. But everyone runs differently. Some people are doing everything themselves. Some people have a team. You have to think about when the wages are going to come out. So understanding how your finances work in your business is so important. And then not thinking that you're doing a really bad job if somebody else has got more cash in the bank, because it might just be that they've got more credit, they've got more stuff on credits, they've got more cash in the bank, where you haven't got any credit at all and you pay all your bills in cash. So there's loads and loads of things to think about. So if I can try and break it down a little bit today for everyone, then that'll be super helpful.
No, that will, and it will really help people as well. Like lots of small business owners are doing the majority of their accounts and their bookkeeping themselves, or maybe they'll kind of take on some help from somebody maybe kind of once a year-ish. For those people that are listening, this is the podcast for you. And those of you, even we have an accountant in our business, don't we?
We do.
And actually, this was a bit of a block for us. We got an accountant kind of day one, because I've run businesses before. I was like, right, I want an accountant from the start this time. But we were kind of saying this to you, wasn't it? That's actually meant that I haven't educated myself as much as I perhaps would have done had we ran this company. So we're a limited company running this time, whereas other businesses I've had all sorts of businesses running on different kind of structures. So this time round, having an accountant from day one, I think that kind of
it wasn't that we was handing it over to him and saying, okay, thank you, like we don't need to look at that. But for me, that's what it felt like, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it was kind of in terms of kind of knowing all the terminology, or actually presenting him with the expenses that we could claim, etc. We just thought, oh no, they're going to take care of all of that for us. And actually, only kind of the last few months I was like, right, we really should.
Just really recently have we even considered any sort of expense, really, apart from
educating ourselves on what we can and cannot claim. And there'll be lots of businesses, and this is the episode for you. So help us out, Alexis.
Let's dive in. Let's do this.
Okay.
Where do we start?
Okay, so first of all, it depends on what sort of business that you've got. So the main two are, you're either self-employed, which means you've registered with HMRC, you have a self-assessment every year, but the money that you have coming into your business and the expenses is all down to you as an individual. So I would think of it as like Pete the plumber, right? So you've got a guy, he's a plumber, and his name's Pete, and everything that he does is just Pete doing the work, and all his finances are all in one place. Or you can have a limited company. So let's say Pete the plumber is doing the work, but he set up his limited company called Plumbing Limited. They are two separate entities, but Pete's doing all the work, but the finances are actually run through the limited company. Now, depending on which setup you've got, and there's no right or wrong, it just is completely personal to what you want. There are different expenses and different ways that you put your finances through. So that's the first thing to think about, is what depends on what you've set up as, depends on when you're looking at, can I claim for this, can I not? Might be slightly different if you're a sole trader or if you're a limited company. So that's why I say every business is different, and what you can claim for is different, because that's one major difference between the two. Then you have to think about all the things that you do in your business. If they are wholly and exclusively for business, that's what HMRC class as a business expense. So if in your head you're like, oh, can I claim for this? If you think of HMRC sat with you going, right, is that a completely expense for business? Put it through. If it's not, have a little think about why you think it should be a business expense. Does that make sense so far?
Okay. So give us an example. So if we're talking like buying stock, so if I'm a wedding decor company and I'm buying table centerpieces that I'm going to hire out month on month, that surely is a straightforward expense for the business, purely Absolutely. For the business.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. What about a phone contract? I'm using my phone. I'm going to be speaking to clients on the phone. Is that where we get into a little bit more?
Yeah.
Like a grey area almost?
Yeah, I love that the grey area in accounts is massive, because if you call it a business expense, as long as you can justify why that is a business expense, and it would satisfy HMRC if they were to sit with you, then you can make your own decisions on that. So with a phone, that's a really, really good example. Thanks, Katie, because with a business, a lot of us use apps for personal business, Facebook, right? There's no real way of tracking how much of your time spent on Facebook is personal and business, because unless it's a completely separate phone contract. So personally, I have a personal phone and I have a business phone. My business phone, I use for business. All my apps are on there. My logins are all my business logins. So I put that entire bill through my business, because it is a dedicated line for clients. Everything that is on there is for business. So then I've got my personal one. So that's the easiest thing, is to have a separate contract. But I know that in real life, that doesn't always happen. Now, if you are following the rules to the letter, you should be tracking every single phone call that is for business and only putting in that percentage through your business. So let's say you're using your phone and you think, right, okay, I'm using this phone 70% for business and 30% for personal. Then you could kind of work out how much of that bill is 70% and 30%. You have to justify that. Now, that is quite a tricky thing to do for a business owner.
I suppose with the phone contract, it probably does make more sense to have a business line phone compared to, you know,
like a personal
phone.
so there's no crossover.
But a lot of people will have like one internet bill, and people who are working from home. So is that kind of a more relevant example on that one?
Yeah, so with you working from home, so you wouldn't put through your internet bill for working from home. There is an allowance for working from home, which is around £6 a week. It changes. So it used to be about £4, now it's £6. So as it changes, you can claim more. So if you're working from home, the allowance within that fee should cover your Wi-Fi, electric and gas. It's like a flat fee, and that's the most popular way of tracking how much you're able to put through for working from home.
I mean, I wish my internet and electric and gas was less than £6.
Right? Yeah,
in this current climate.
There is another more complicated way. I say complicated, it's not massively complicated, but it's not as easy as a flat fee, where you can work out how many rooms in your business, in your house are dedicated to business.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah, so there is other ways of doing it, and there's a link on HMRC's website where you can get the calculation and work out. Obviously, everyone's is going to be different, so they can't just put, you know, it's average of this, because everyone's house is different sizes. And it might be that somebody uses 1 room, 2 rooms in their house for business. But if you are doing that, you need to think about your business insurance, because I used to run a product business, and my home insurance stated I could run a business from home as long as customers weren't coming to the house. So if you've got a product business where somebody's coming to collect, let's say it's wedding stationery, and you're the local wedding stationery provider, people come to the house, just need to check in your home insurance that you're covered for that kind of thing. And especially if you've got a lot of stock at home, if you were to have a fire, which nobody ever does, would you be insured for your stock? Because, you know, stock adds up. You know, the amount of money that people invest over time on different tools for their business, different printers, all the things that you would do, just need to make sure that you're covered. And I know that's not to do with profit, but it is to make sure that as a business, if you were to lose everything, you could keep your business going by having an insurance payout or something along those lines.
So your £6 a week that we're able to put through the biz, how do you like record that? Do you just say or?
Well, it's a flat fee that you can put through, so you don't need to keep any paperwork. That one, yeah. And when you're doing, if you're self-employed and doing your self-assessment, you would put that through on your self-assessment. There's a dedicated part for you to add that fee in. Or if you're a limited company, you would be keeping your finance records. So it's classed as a business expense, which reduces tax, which is always good. And you can put that through. I put it through as a work from home or a use of residential, it can be called as well. And you can put that through each week if you want, if you're a weekly person that likes to keep up with their accounts every week, or you can just put it through at the year end for the 52 weeks when you come to finish off your account. So it depends how you like to do it.
That's quite a nice chunk, isn't it? I'm trying to do the maths in my head a little bit, but that's quite a chunk, isn't it? To kind of, that you can kind of take off at the end in terms of kind of expenses. Yeah, I think kind of petrol is always like a big one, isn't it? Especially at the minute with what's kind of going on at the minute.
I know, me too, and I'm literally like, I'm dancing on the petrol light thing right now. I'm like, I don't want to do it, but I'm gonna have to.
It's really expensive at the moment. It's insane, isn't it? Sorry, Katie, what were you going to say?
No, I suppose kind of a lot. Well, the question I've kind of got is those people who are kind of traveling. So you'll get the people that travel incredibly regularly, maybe 2-3 weddings a week, maybe also their travel to work. Let's do 2 ones. So if your work is away from your house, can we claim for petrol to go to work? So let's say I have a shop or I'm a florist and I don't work from home. Is that petrol allowance allowed to be claimed?
You can't just put through the whole bill because you can't tell what's personal usage and what's business usage. So how would you know from just one whole receipt where you've been and what you've claimed for? So what you should be doing is tracking your mileage. So if you are a florist and you've gone to a wedding venue to drop off the flowers and then you come back, that's a business journey. And sorry about the banging, by the way. I'm having building work done, and it's just sporadic, and they've been here for weeks. It's gone on for another 10 weeks, so my apologies. So you should be tracking your mileage. So at the moment, it's 45p a mile up to the first 10,000 miles in your business, and you would track that return journey. So the way that I do it, I keep it on a spreadsheet, and I just every week I have a look at my diary, because most of us keep it in your diary to check, you know, where you've been, where you're going. You'd have it all planned, so you haven't got to remember to keep doing it on the fly. What I do is once a week, as I have a look at my diary of where I've been and what client appointments I've had,
just pop it in,
and then I do it, because I know where I've been, and I can, if I haven't been there, I just won't put it on. But it's loads and loads of different events, mileage as well. Things like going to collect things. So even if it's not going to a venue, but you are going to collect stock, or you've gone to the shop to get paper for your printer, or like all of those little journeys, they do add up in your business, which again is a business expense.
So I know that there is there's an app that you can get that I don't know, I'm pretty sure that if you want it to track it by itself, you have to pay for it, but there is free versions that when you get in your car, it knows, and then it starts tracking.
I couldn't be bothered.
No, I have tried it before, but it's like, oh my life, I forgot to put the app on, because I'm not paying like $9.99 a month, whatever, for that. I'm not doing that.
I know, and you've got to.
That would be,
yeah, that would be a business expense, right?
It would. I guess it's the value of if you were on the road all the time, $9.99 a month might seem really cheap for the amount of admin work it would take you to go in and plug all of that in. So there's two apps that I know of. There's one called Trip Capture, and there's one called Mile IQ, and some of these as well will integrate with your accountancy software. So if you are doing your own stuff, you know, your own accounts, and you want to speed it up, there are like integrations that can happen both ways. So if you're using Mile IQ, for example, and say Xero, they will link together, so you haven't got to then manually plug that information in. So those things can really speed up what you do in your business, which helps with profit, because if you're able to charge more per hour or spend less time doing those things, then it just means that the money that you've spent on those tools, let's say, speeds it up, and then you can make more money by focusing on, say, your marketing. So
not only that, it frees up a bit of brain space. I think not even like needing to think about it.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the one that a lot of people just put their fuel receipts through. But what accountants will do at the end of the year then is, whilst you're putting it through the business, they might what we call add it back. So when it comes to doing this isn't for self-assessments necessarily, this is more for your limited companies, but that you'll be putting it through without realising then that the accountant's like, well, we can't put all of that fuel through. So they add it back. Now, whether that accountant explains that to you will depend on how much information you want from your accountant and what sort of relationship you've got. But you might think that you've been able to put all of that fuel through, but actually they've done an adjustment and it hasn't gone through. So it's these sorts of things that I think business owners perhaps don't understand or don't know yet, that it'd be worth asking. Because then it might mean that you actually spend more money because you get 45p a mile instead of putting through your whole fuel receipt. So it might work out better to have the 45p a mile than just putting through your fuel receipts and just asking your accountant at the end of the year what that's how it's been treated.
Okay, so let's talk. How do we? Okay, so I'm on the road all the time. I'm claiming like £300-400 fuel a week. No, let's say a month. Currently. How do you get that back? Do you're saying obviously not all of the fuel in your car is going to be on work journeys, unless you've got a van, unless you're somebody that maybe you're a florist and you've got a van and you know that those journeys are going to be pure business. And then there isn't that kind of crossover. But my question is, do you pay for the petrol from your personal account and then
claim back
the expenses? And then we'll talk about how to do that in a second. Or do you just pay for it, whack out the business card?
I would do it personally, so put it on your personal card and then claim it back. And there's ways of doing that which we can chat about, because if you put it through, you can put it through the business card, but then you'd have to work out what your personal mileage is and deduct it that way. So if you're doing it correctly, doing it personally and then claiming back the mileage is the way to do it.
Okay, and at that point then, so let's say, how often can I claim back the mileage? Can I claim it back as often as I want to?
Or is it more effective to do it like a certain way, monthly, quarterly, yearly, whatever?
Well, it won't really matter because it depends how much cash you need back. So if you've paid for it personally, let's say you paid £100 petrol bill, but at the end of the week you've spent at least £70 on business journeys, for example, then you want that cash back, so do it weekly. So this is more limited companies and people who are running limited companies in that section, because if you're self-employed, all the money is kind of in one place anyway. But with limited companies where you've got the directors of the companies are paying for their fuel personally, you can get that money back from the business straight away. If as soon as you put your mileage in and you've worked out how much you should have back, you can take it out the same day if you want to.
So how do you I suppose even whether you're a sole trader or you're a limited company, you still need to keep a track of your mileage, because that then is what's going to prove that you've used that as
absolutely
mileage, not personal mileage.
Yeah.
What records do you need to have to show that that spreadsheet that you were talking about, or the app? How does that work?
Well, this isn't I'm going to give your audience a heads up on if they haven't heard about it already, but I do not want anyone to feel overwhelmed. Okay, so normally as a self-employed person, you have your self-assessment and you do one return a year. It has to be in by the 31st of January. So I'm sure most people wait until the very last minute and they're like, oh my God, I've got to do my self-assessment. In April 2024, so it's not coming out anytime soon, but it is going to happen, there's something called Making Tax Digital Income Tax Self-Assessments. So you'll hear it being called MTD ITSA, which is the shortened version. Now, what that means is that every self-employed person that earns over £10,000 a year has to have digital records. So if you were saying about how you record stuff, if you're currently doing in a paper book, that's fine, but you will have to move that digitally in some way by April 2024. So if you start playing about with it now, it means when it's mandatory, you're not going to feel really overwhelmed and stuck. Mm-hmm. So you can do it on a spreadsheet. Most people, I guess, do it on spreadsheets, and there will be a way for you to submit that information even when Making Tax Digital comes out. But you have got accountancy software. So I'm sure loads of people have heard the adverts from QuickBooks, We Do Your Taxes, and Xero. But there's a really good one called Free Agent, which is great for sole traders. And if you have a NatWest business account, you get Free Agent for free. So if somebody is already banking with NatWest and you don't have Free Agent, I would definitely look at that, because it's a free service, which would be great for you to track, and that'll be Making Tax Digital compliant, I'm sure, by April 2024. And there's loads of different ways of recording it, but as long as it's in a digital format, eventually that's what I would be looking to do. I have actually got a income and expenses spreadsheet in my group, so if anyone wants that, it's free. You can go in and I think it's in my file.
We'll whack a little link down there so people can get hold of that. That's really good. I mean, I know from kind of past experience, I have been that person that's like, okay, the tax bill. I normally would sit around Christmas and like get Christmas out of the way and then sit, and I've got like those few weeks after. It's always a great thing to start the year with, guys. Like always was. That's what I've done in past businesses, where I then pull out my pile of receipts and I'm then going through like adding every receipt up. And I suppose this is avoiding, and also keeping that record keeping as well. Like as business owners, we need to keep records just in case HMRC do want to have a little look and wants to query an expense down the line. I suppose having it all digital ensures that you've just got that, haven't you? And it's not.
Yeah. And one of the major things about making your accounts, like the account stuff can be really boring and really like, oh my goodness. But I love how it can tell you things. So let's talk about making more profit in your business using your numbers. There's something in Xero, and I'm sure the other platforms will have it as well, and you could do it on a spreadsheet, called tracking categories. So let's say you are making cakes for a business, for your wedding business, and in your head you probably know which cakes are most popular, right? We all know our businesses so well, but what if you had the numbers to back that up, so you could really see the difference between the different types of cakes you make? Or let's say you are a florist and you want to see what sort of profit you can make on each different type of flower that you sell, and that would help you then make different offers or discounts, or maybe bundle stuff up. This can apply to any business. If you were to put it into a digital system, you can then have, like, say you're in a spreadsheet, you could have a little filter and a drop down box of what kind of products that you've got. And in accountancy software, you can do this really easily as well. And then you could even have a look at your profit and loss, so your income and your expenses and what's left for just that one type of product. So, for example, I've looked after a care home, and they've got lots of different care homes in different places, and they want to see which one is, the most profitable and where they can put more resources in. So by splitting them out, even though it's part of one big business, if they split them out into subcategories, they can then make really good business decisions on where they need to put more staff, or if it's a product, when do we need to put some discounts on to try and push that line, or if you've got end of line stuff that you think, oh, I just need to get rid of that to make more room for this product that's doing really well. You can use your numbers in that way. I hope I've explained that okay. But
yeah, that's right.
I do feel like in business that tracking is one of the most powerful things that you can actually do, like in every part of your business, especially with your kind of money side of it, because like you said, you can see what's performing well, what you could do to improve kind of things moving forward, what things maybe, okay, that's not working, so we'll knock that on the head, but we'll push this one a bit more, because without that you can't really see what's going on.
I think a lot of people listening will probably be thinking of, work off package prices. So if they work off package prices and they're bundling items together, perhaps you're a planner or a florist, and you do kind of like a package price for bouquets for your bridesmaids and the bride, and your buttonholes, and then perhaps you do something where it includes your centerpieces, and then you do something that includes this and this. Why I've always liked looking at kind of what do you call it, tracking, is that what you called it?
I call them tracking categories, but you can call it tracking.
I didn't know what it was called, but what I always like to look at, we had a bridal shop, was okay, if we sell this dress, this is how much profit we're going to get from that, but in the same amount of effort we could upsell this, and then let's work out how much profit we've got there. I think when people are kind of bundling items together or looking at packages, especially if that's going to involve a ton more work, a ton more driving, more fuel, anything like that, is it actually more profitable to put those things together? So I would always kind of break it down and say, right, okay, yes, in my mind, adding bridesmaid dresses and a veil in with the bridal gown, that makes a really fantastic package. Boom, this is how much I can sell it for. Let's discount it by this much. You really need to kind of understand how much profit you're making, where you can take the discount from, especially for people, I suppose. And let's get onto this subject because it's really good. Is what can we claim for our time? Because a lot of businesses will be service-based, or even if you are product-based. I mean, it was a little bit different for me because I had staff. So I had to account for staff in my business. And you said right at the beginning of this podcast, business models will have different kind of cash flow forecasts and that sort of stuff. So I always needed to make sure, how many months have we got paying people before, we're like, ooh, okay,
ooh,
we need to make some changes here. Or you can't just discount willy-nilly, can you? Because you've got staff to pay and you've got overheads to kind of manage. So yeah, in terms of a time element, how do people expense their time? Is that something that people can do?
Yeah, and especially at the beginning when people are starting, they forget to account for their time. So they might be, let's say you're making and selling products. I don't know, it might be like the cake stands, for example. People think, oh, brilliant, I bought it for this much, and then I bought the paint or the glitter that goes with it, and then I'm going to sell it for X amount. But they don't take into account how much time it takes for them to make that product, so it's from a raw product into a finished product that they can then sell. And even time to go somewhere like the post office, like delivering products and going back for the post office still takes time. So from the very beginning, I would account, if you're going to have like an hourly rate, so depends on how much you want to earn. So obviously this is going to make a difference to everyone individually. Depending on how much you want to earn, you need to be putting that hourly rate into how long it takes you to make that product. And that is how much the product should then, be sold for once you've added on your profit. So if it's a service-based business, it's slightly different, but you can still count for your hours, but you're not putting that into making the product as well. And also, don't forget about running the business. So as business owners, there's so much to think about. So the admin, the logistics, suppliers, all of that still takes up your time as well. So should that time really be accounted for in your business somewhere so that you can make more profit on those items? So I would say, think about how much you want to earn an hour, at least minimum wage, because you deserve it. Obviously, if you went and had a job somewhere else, people don't think about this. And when they work it out, they're like, oh, actually, I'm on £5 an hour. If you love your business, you might not mind that you're only on £5 an hour, but really maybe it would be good to have a look at your pricing strategy and see if you can start to increase your prices over a set amount of time so that you can get that hourly rate up. So you can use a spreadsheet for something like that, or your accountancy system if you wanted to. And then if you think, oh, I haven't been charging enough, just do it slowly, because putting prices up can be quite scary, but just do it slowly on different products so that it doesn't feel like such a big change. But you could make it so that your goal is in 6 months, I want to be on this much an hour. How do I make that happen?
That's a really good idea, to kind of do it gradually, because like you said, putting your prices up, it can be scary, like for a load of reasons, like, are people going to want to pay that much, or all those sorts of things. But I think you kind of have to start as you mean to go on with these things, don't you? You have to get comfortable in this kind of space, because then it will become easier to get where you want to be.
Yeah, and also, do you know, when you mentioned about discounts, I've remembered something, is you should really account for that in your numbers as well. So rather than just saying, let's say you sell something for £100, but you discount it to 90, so 10% off. Instead of putting through your sales as 90, you really should be putting them through as 100 and then adding in an expense, business discounts given, or something along those lines, £10. So you can track through the year, or how much discount am I giving? And then you can check that every year, like, oh, is that a bit too much? Like at the time I thought it sounded really good, but if I didn't have that discount, or if I increased the product price and then still gave the same discount but was making more money, how much difference would that make per year in my business in terms of cash coming in? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely does. Yeah, we used to do that, didn't we?
Yeah.
We would have obviously till software, because we were project based, dresses, things that we needed to kind of reorder. Let's do some quick fire expenses, and let's see. Oh, you said it then.
Oh, there. Yes.
Oh, we knew that was going to happen.
Excuse me.
We'll take that. We'll do that again. Okay, let's do some quick fire expenses where we are going to just see what people can claim. Obviously, people will be coming at it with different kind of businesses. You might get the businesses actually like a DJ or entertainment, that they have like one initial setup and then there isn't actually that much more products or anything that they need to continue in order to provide the same service. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yes.
So for those kind of businesses, what do those kind of businesses need to keep on top of in terms of their expenses?
Yeah, so first of all, the time for organising and emailing back and forth. There will be software costs, so they might have website, hosting, email software. They could have agreements with suppliers where they do networking, so they might, go to the monthly networking group where they need to pay for a membership. There's loads of little hidden costs. Insurances, so if they've got insurance and public liability insurance, those kind of things. They might even have a music license. So if they have to pay annually to be able to play this sort of music, it won't matter how many events they do a year, they've still got the same expense to put through the business. So yeah, there's those sorts of things.
What about uniform? What about workwear?
Oh, workwear is a brilliant one. Okay, be careful with workwear if you put it through the business, because unless it has your logo printed on it for it to become business wear, or it's special like PPE that you have to wear for work, shouldn't put it through your business.
So we've got WedCon coming up, so I can't just pop to the shops and be like, oh, I'm gonna get a new dress for WedCon.
No, unfortunately,
I wouldn't let you do that anyway.
No, I wouldn't do it anyway, but I'm just popping to do look. Go to Primark is my way to go actually. But okay, no. Sorry.
Unfortunately not. I mean, this is where the grey area comes in, because I'm sure there are businesses out there, especially if you're doing your own self-assessment, where if you've not been investigated by HMRC, you might have bought work stuff. I say work stuff that you buy that you only wear for work. We all do it. And I'm sure some people have put things like that through, like work trousers or whatever it might be. But if HMRC was to check, they would say, well, it's not classed as business clothing on our criteria, so you shouldn't have put it through.
Have you ever been able to do that? Like, where have I got this from then? Have you ever been able to claim workwear?
No.
I'm going to
my books after today.
No, I don't.
I'll be like, what are all these shopping?
This is where it's been, for me, I've found this a really big learning curve, because I'm in finance, but I was always in business finance from a corporate perspective. Did my accountancy exams, and then I've started helping clients with their accounts and bookkeeping. And this is where, you know, when somebody's been doing their own self-assessment or maybe giving it to the accountant, you don't know if the accountant has just taken that out, or if they've gone, oh, we'll let it slide and see if we can get it through. There's a lot of that goes on. But the danger is, if HMRC were to investigate you, you would have to just go, do you know what, they're going to investigate me. I know I shouldn't have put that through. I took the risk, so on my head be it. And it's all about just being aware of what you can and can't put through. Whether you put it through or not is your decision. But you need to be aware that if they were to investigate you, then if they give you a penalty, then you just need to put your hands up and go, oh, okay, well, yeah, fair enough.
And you'd rather just be ahead. I think most businesses would rather be ahead, especially with kind of any grants or anything like that. There's obviously been talk in terms of businesses that have claimed them that may not have been able to claim them in terms of owing the money back. It's a really rubbishy way to kind of plan your finances, to be on borrowed money, isn't it? So I think getting ahead of kind of what you can and cannot purchase. I think it's something to do with, I think I might know where you've got it from.
Go on.
I think your husband, as part of his package or as part of his thing, gets something back from HMRC if
I've seen like an advert
workwear, because he works for a company, doesn't he? So
there you go.
Yeah, there's things like that, and like even cleaning your clothes, like having dry cleaning if you wear posh suits and stuff. But it's more about claiming that back rather than just sticking it all through the business. But there are things like that available, definitely. It's just knowing what you can and can't have and where to find it. So, and also I find that HMRC's website is like a rabbit hole. You can click on something, and then you click on something else. It's like Alice in Wonderland, just ends up down this like rabbit hole, and you think, well, how did I get here again? So one of my tips, and one of the reasons I named my business this, is if you were to find something you wanted to read, you right click it and open it in a new tab. It'll obviously open it separately, have a read of that, then close that and come back to where you were at the beginning, so you don't get lost along the way.
Oh, close the tab. I was just about to say, with spirits, I must have.
How many tabs have you got open, Kate?
Probably about 31 on my laptop, and then maybe about 20 on my phone at a time.
I have a lot on my phone, but my laptop, because it's so pants, I can't keep anything open. So
okay, so in terms of quickfire expenses,
what about food?
Oh yeah, we'll get to food. So somebody that kind of has upfront purchase costs, maybe they've purchased a laptop, etc. That's all gone and done with. Then it's things like time, petrol, networking events. Whoop whoop! Those people that come to us and want to go to WedCon, perfectly fine. What about if you buy a book that is going to help you to understand, I don't know, selling a little bit better or something like that? Business education.
Yeah, so business education is absolutely fine as long as it's related to the business that you're in. So it has to be something that you're already doing. So let's say you are a wedding business, anything to do with the wedding industry. So, you know, how to grow a wedding business, or something, you know, how to make different cake ingredients or cake recipes. Or if you're a cake baker, that's absolutely fine. What you can't do is go, right, all of a sudden I'm going to become a gardener. So if you're a florist, maybe having a gardening book would help you because you're in the florist industry and they're closely related. But if you are a baker, gardening doesn't match. So you can't just put all yours through. If it's self-development, I allow that to go through because it is developing the business.
I was just going to ask about self-development. I'm sat looking at my two most recent purchases and they're more like self-development-y. Does that count?
Because you're a business owner, so you're involved in the business, and maybe upskilling yourself is going to help the business to grow. So that would be fine. But you just need to make sure that anything that you put through is related to you or the business in a business way. It's not just, I don't know, I want to develop my photography skills. Actually, that would probably be all right in a wedding business. They're thinking about it, because
kind of imagery and
product, so if you're taking your own product, so this is what I mean.
So much to think about there, because there's obviously like social media subscriptions that people might have. There is accountancy subscriptions that people might pay for. We pay for one of those. Networking events that are obviously, and all of these things do add up, don't they? Like, you might think,
it's just a £15 ticket for a networking event, but if you're doing that monthly,
and also your website hosting, these are things that should be going through as well, shouldn't they?
Absolutely. And also, if anyone's got a product business and they sell online using a payment platform, let's talk about like Stripe or PayPal. I have had a client in the past where, when I started working with them, if the money came in, let's say they had a Xero, so they accountancy software, and the money comes in from, let's say, PayPal or Stripe. If you've got a product that is, let's say, £10, the money that you receive is after those payment platforms
after fees.
Taking their money. So you don't just put that fee in as your sale. You would put your sale in as £10, and then one of your business expenses is the payment provider's commission fees. So then you've got a really good, accurate idea of how much your turnover is, because your turnover will be a bit higher because you've been putting in the actual amount that you sold the product for. So I have seen that before. Now, it's probably unlikely, but you need to check that for VAT purposes. So for a company that turns over £85,000 or more, you have to become VAT registered. Even if you're not a limited company, and you're a sole trader, you still need to register. And that might, if you've got a really good product business that's selling a lot of wedding stationery stuff, you could quite easily miss that and then end up over the VAT threshold. So and if you think you're going to hit the VAT threshold, think about your pricing, because I don't know how relevant this will be to a lot of people, but if you've got a business that's been doing really well and you're coming up so close to the turnover bracket, if you go over and you become VAT registered, you then have to add on 20% onto your products. Or what I have seen someone do is absorb that 20%. Now, you don't want to do that, maybe. So you want to add it on. So if you're tracking that, you can plan ahead, thinking, right, in 18 months' time, I think I'm going to become VAT registered. So over 18 months, I need to make sure I'm increasing my prices enough so that I can absorb that 20%. But that's all to do with planning and budgeting and things like that.
Well, that's good though, because then it's not going to be an absolute slap in the face when it gets to that point, and you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Or you say on that matter.
You can. I was when the kids, I got twins, so when they were little, we went to this clay making place, and they do the handprints on the clay and that kind of thing. And she was in a position where she was doing really well, and she went over and had to issue a notice to everyone to say all my prices are going up by 20% because I'm VAT registered. Now, some people, I'm sure, would have been a bit like, oh, I'm not really happy about that. But because she communicated it, at least to tell us, we recognise, look, it's not really her putting her prices up. She legally will have to do this now. So it's all about the way you communicate if you're putting your prices up and how you do that to your customers. That always helps if you think about that in and you was a budget for it. Then you can plan it ahead.
Seasonal, I mean, you've got the choice, haven't you, really? Like, if you don't want to go over that threshold, or do you want to keep your business lower so that you don't go over the VAT threshold? It's totally up to you. Like, some people will see that as a really positive, like, we're earning enough to be VAT registered, that's such a positive thing. Other people just won't want the headache and won't want to go into that bracket, or maybe they feel that the market that they're after isn't going to take that hike, or there isn't enough margin for them to do that. But being seasonal and having a good idea of your numbers, and not actually just looking at your kind of tax return once a year and saying, oh, okay, like, we're going to hit this like really soon, wow, what am I going to do? And then being a busy season and you can't do anything about it, and you've got a lot of money coming into your business, because this is it with wedding business, isn't it? We might actually have hey, I've just thought of a really good question on this point. Is that we take deposits quite often, and then we take the vast majority of our money, maybe a lot of the time, during our busy season where it's wedding season, and then all of a sudden we've taken quite a lot of money in a short space of time, and throughout the rest of the year it's a little bit a little bit less stagnant. This is another reason why you should have a good grip, an idea of how much of that money you can spend, how much you need to put aside for the month-on-month expenses. And yes, you might not have staff, but we've just determined you've definitely got other expenses, whether that is the networking event that you go to, or you're meeting as a private coffee, and that is purely business, so you should be putting it through, or whether you are, you know, accountancy software, travel, your time in the business, that sort of stuff. So where do we record that in our accounting? At what point? So let's say we've taken £1,000 wedding booking and we've taken £100 deposit. And most businesses listening will be sole trader, so I don't know if that differentiates the answer.
It shouldn't do. Okay. No, it shouldn't make a difference. So some people will take a payment online, so it would just be £100 that you'd get. But if you are somebody who's taking deposits, my recommendation would be to issue an invoice. So that could be a Word document, it could be through your accountancy software, the full amount, and then in the terms it would say £100 deposit to be paid immediately, etc. If you're using accountancy software, that invoice will sit in your accountancy software until it's paid off. So let's say you've raised one for £1,000, somebody's paid you 100, you would allocate that £100 against the invoice, meaning there's £900 left. That £900 will just sit there until the event has happened and they've paid that money. And then when the money comes in, you can then put that invoice as fully paid. If you're doing it on a Word document and they've paid £100, you'll just need to have some sort of tracking, you know, if it's a spreadsheet or if it's a diary reminder, that once that event has happened, you'll need to chase up that extra £900 or at least send them a reminder or something like that. So if you're doing it through your accountancy software, you can easily just send them a reminder in your accountancy software. You just click email and reminder. But if it's a Word document, you probably need to email them or text them, whatever form of communication that you've had, so they remember how to pay, and also the information is there for them, you know, the bank account and things like that. But if somebody's paying money upfront, then you can put it as something called payment on account. So let's say you haven't issued any invoices and someone has given you £100 towards their flowers for their wedding. So you haven't issued any invoices. They would like, it's okay, I'll just send you the money now and whatever. Maybe you've done work with them before. You can put something called a payment on account. So what that means is that the money is sat and it's allocated to them until you do something with it. So then when you issue an invoice, you've got the payment to go, they paid £100 towards that invoice. Or if it's in your bank, you could mark it with a reference that says payment towards whatever.
Whichever. However
different ways to bring it.
So which tax year does that fall into? Let's say we're coming up for April, or we're coming up for kind of when people kind of record their 12-month.
This is a really good point, yeah.
And I've got a wedding booking coming up further down the year, and I've taken half, and I've still got half to pay. Does it come? Which tax year does that fall into?
Oh, good question. Okay, so if you're self-employed, your tax year goes from April to April. So really, yours it's more simplistic, I guess, because it'll just be the money that you've had come in. So your tax return would be based on the money that you've had come in, but you'll know that you've got a commitment to somebody. But really, it's on how much money you've had coming in, as in cash-wise. I mean, if you're a limited company, it's slightly different because your financial years will be different depending on when you registered your business with Companies House. So if you're ever not quite sure, you can just go onto Companies House Beta, which is BETA, and type in your name and it'll come up straight away and you can find out what your financial year is. Now that is something called prepayments. So what you would put it through as is there's an invoice that is owed. Sorry, let me go back. If they've paid £100 deposit and you've just put that as payment on account, it's called a prepayment. They have prepaid you for something that actually hasn't happened yet. Yeah, but you're still committed as a business to provide that event, or you'll need to refund that money back to them. Yeah. Or if you've issued an invoice and they've paid £100 towards it, then that might be called an age receivable. So what that means is you've got an invoice on the system and they haven't paid it yet. But obviously, if that event gets cancelled, you still need to refund them that deposit that they've paid. So depending on what your financial year is and how you run your business and how long between the event and when it's done, it might most likely be a prepayment because then you have to refund it if it doesn't go ahead. which can affect your cash flow. Because if you have lots and lots of those, and for some reason the event that you planned gets cancelled, then you're going to have to put all that money back. Yeah. Yeah, especially through COVID.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, no, this has been really helpful. I think Roxy wanted to ask about food. Roxy.
I mean, clothing, food, like hotel stay. No.
Yeah, let's talk about travel. Can I take my kids away? Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Can I pay for my kids to go away?
If it's for business, then yeah. If you're going to a networking event and it's in London and you're staying overnight so that you arrive at 9 a.m, then yeah, because you wouldn't have gone there if it wasn't for a business purpose. So 100% you can put that through, but you just need to be sensible with it. If you are, let's say, a wedding event planner and you are going to different venues all over the country, it would make sense for you to have a lot of hotel stays. However, if you are a florist and you've got a shop and you pay rent on that shop on that location, would you then be traveling around the country staying in loads of hotels? Or are you going there personally every weekend and sticking it through the business? You need to just be careful about, making sure that it's for a business reason and it's not just because you think, oh, I'll just stick it all through. Because if you have to justify it.
Yeah, here's the question with that. So let's say, is it just you as the business owner that gets that expense, or people who have got children who think, okay, I'm going to actually, I do know of suppliers actually will go work and they'll make a day of it, or they'll go over because they might be dropping things off in the morning and then collecting it on the evening. So they say, right, it's a Saturday. Lots of people will relate to this. Come on, we're going to go to the beach for the whole day because I've got a wedding that's near the beach. Or we're going to go to Alton Towers or whatever it is. What part of the hotel stay can people claim back for? Is it just
your section? Yeah. So if you're purchasing a family room, but let's say you were booking a double room, but it takes 4 people, well, you'd still be booking that double room for you. So it wouldn't matter if other people are staying in there because you would have had that room anyway. If you are upgrading to a family room, then you could argue that only
4 breakfasts.
A percentage of both. So this is where you have to. There's no set. It depends on the hotel invoice. So is it a double room and 4 people can stay? Well, you'd put that through your business because you'd be staying there anyway. If it's a family room and it says family room sleeps up to 4, then you'd have to maybe only put a bit of that through. A proportion of just yours. Depends on the invoice that you get.
Mm-hmm.
So those suppliers that are either on the road quite a lot or they're at weddings all day, that we could talk about a podcast in terms of what to charge our clients for and not clients. So purely for an expense point of view, if I am purchasing food, obviously you're going to eat anyway. So is this a grey area or not a grey area? Like I am at like I'm going to work and a normal day you would eat. So what are you able to kind of claim through your business? Are you able to claim
away from work? A sensible distance away from your normal place of work. So if you are local and you go to your local sandwich shop, no, because the argument is that you buy that anyway.
You could have it at home.
Yeah, you have to eat. But if you are at a wedding event and you're in London and you wouldn't have gone to London unless it was a business event, taking a packed lunch with you is not going to be feasible because you might not have a fridge to put it in. You might just be on the road and you might go through a drive-through, then you put that through. Again, this comes down to how much are you putting through. Are you going all over the place and going to Wagamama's down, in the other city just so you can claim it for your business every week? Or is it because you were at a wedding event? And also, if you're at a wedding event, you'd be putting through your fuel, you might be putting through your hotel, then you'd be putting through your food, and it's all related to that one event. So you could kind of evidence that the reason that you had that food is because you were at the event. If it's that you're going to, fancy restaurants every other week just for the fun of it, then maybe not. But yeah, it's a sensible distance away from home. I don't think there's a specific amount of miles. It's not like X amount of miles, I don't think. I need to check that. But yeah, sensible distance away from home. And you call it subsistence or put it through as travel.
Oh, nice. Okay, so those people are thinking, oh my goodness, income, expenses, how do I track it all? You mentioned that you've got a free downloadable that people can get from joining your Facebook group. The Facebook group to go and look for, guys and girls, is Right Click with Alexis, and we'll pop a link into the show notes so people can go over and go and grab that as well. At the end of the day, all of this and everything we've kind of been speaking about is enabling you to kind of have a sense of what you can claim in your business, pay less tax, which we all like to pay. I had a tax bill last month and I didn't enjoy it.
I heard about it a lot.
I didn't enjoy it, no.
Who does? Who enjoys that?
I procrastinated. Do you know, let me tell you what the worst part of paying that was. The reference number. It was like 19
digits long,
odd long, and I was like stressing over getting it right with all sorts of capital letters. And I was like, why can it not just be my name? Why can it not be my like tax code?
Just like injury to insult right there. Insult to injury, sorry.
Yeah. So we don't like it. So it is something, you know, to have a grip on it. And the earlier you start, the easier it becomes. You don't have to kind of go through and think, okay, all of that headache.
Yeah. So is your community a place where people can come and ask questions and learn things? Yeah, great.
The safe space, no questions. Question, and if I don't know the answer, then I'll just say, look, I don't really know the answer to that, but I can go away and find out, or at least get a link or somebody an expert to come in, because we don't know everything, and taxes and VAT and everything is just a massive spectrum. So come along, ask any questions, even drop me a message if you don't feel comfortable asking in a group, but it is private and everyone in there's got the group rules that it stays within that little area. So
I suppose it's quite good as well, because you can see what other people are claiming for, or how other people are kind of what systems they might be using, what accountancy software they might be using, etc. as well. So thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have to get you back on in terms of talking about profit and maybe kind of like examining profit and things like that, which is going to be great. If you want to go and find out more about Alexis, go and join her group, Right Click with Alexis. Throughout this podcast, I would just like to say that my toes have been nibbled, my dress has been nibbled.
And not by me.
Roxy's dog is a chewer, everybody. Really? He's been chewing my toe, he's been chewing my flip flop.
Oh, nice little foot
wash.
It's funny because like you've brought your dog and I've got my dog, but our dogs have swapped mums. Like your dog is next to me and my dog is next to you.
But my dog.
So I'll leave you on that one, everybody.
And your dog's been really, really good. And we've had the building work going on at your house. So all in all.
It just started banging right next to my office. I'm thinking of all the days for you to start banging around by here. So yeah, sorry.
It's fine.
Life happens. We've all learned that kind of. We've all had to do Zoom in over COVID. So don't stress it.
So definitely start to have a think. If you've not thought about what expenses you can claim already, or perhaps you're claiming for things that maybe you shouldn't be, or maybe there's a bit of a question mark over that. Definitely something you can kind of get to grips with. Hopefully as well, we've definitely given you some ideas of some things you can be claiming for if you've not already been claiming. I mean, up until this year, purely for a kind of a COVID point of view, we've not kind of put any petrol free.
No.
For now, when you start to track that, you're like, wow, we use our car a lot for business.
Yeah, we do.
And actually, so thank you so much, Alexis. We'll definitely have you on again soon. Pop over and join the group, but you are also in our community as well. So if people want to ask questions, they can tag you in. And we'll see you next time, guys. Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.